Not help you make the money, help you live the lifestyle you want to live.
Right. Nobody's not always about money. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no one really, it's now at my 30s where I'm like, it was never about the money. It was about maybe not waking up at 6 a.m. every morning. The more work I do behind the scenes, maybe someone will kind of see me, or like I wasn't good at advocating for myself. I would always, in my mind, I like condition myself, my work will speak for itself. My work will speak for itself. We work hard, but aquí hay que trabajar.
Of course.
Aquí hay que trabajar.
Of course.
Before you can go and, I'm going to be bougie and go have brunch in Miami.
Exactly.
Aquí hay que trabajar.
Yes.
To have that life, right? You know?
Right.
So.
Today on the Founders Circle Podcast, we welcome Natalie Marino, also known as the Latina Techie. I love having this conversation, and I know that you will enjoy watching it. You're in for a real treat. Natalie, I just want to welcome you onto the podcast. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I almost had to stop you. We're like, no, we need to do this while the cameras are going. Can you tell a little bit, or can you tell me and the audience a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Natalie Marino. I'm the founder of the Latina Techie, and a little rusty since this is my first, I should say, appearance since my maternity leave. But essentially, I developed software. I started a brand that can really help empower women in the technology space. And it has since kind of morphed and taken on very many different iterations since then. Kind of now I play around with the term serial entrepreneur a little bit because my husband and I do own a business. We recently purchased the Fast Signs of Pembroke Pines in Broward. We've been self-employed now for over a year, and it's been a wild, exciting journey. So I'm very excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's so much that I want to unpack there, right? Because you purchased a business that we can go on so many questions just in regards to that conversation. And also you talk about women in the software space, which we definitely need more of. We're seeing some improvement in that. Mm-hmm. So I guess let's start off on your entrepreneur journey. When we talked that you did go to FSU, mm-hmm. So you went to college. What did you do post-college?
Oh, that's such a good question. I gotta think back in the Rolodex. Post-college, I didn't graduate from Florida State. That was around 2008. The crash happened. My parents were self-employed. It was essentially time for me to come home. Money ran out, especially my scholarship wasn't enough to get me through living in Tallahassee. So I came home, I finished my degree at the University of Phoenix, self-funded, going to school, working full-time as well. And in the midst of that summer 2000, so that would have brought me to summer 2009, a good friend of my mom happened to be VP of risk management at what we call a professional employer organization, a PEO, which is basically kind of HR outsourcing on steroids, basically. You're co-employed with our clients. And they were looking for summer interns to get them through open enrollment. And I needed a job. They were paying, I think, $15 an hour. And at the time,
That's a lot. Yeah.
For a 21-year-old broke coming home from Tallahassee, that was, I thought I was like, oh my God, I'm rich. I made it. They were super flexible enough for me to go to, work full time. I worked a normal 9 to 5. And then whenever I needed to, ask for flex hours for school, they were really flexible about that. And then I basically, getting my foot in the door, I was a benefits coordinator. I worked in the benefits department while I was going to school at night. And I would literally, in those days before electronic enrollment was a thing, I would literally fulfill benefit packets and mail them out to people. And I was literally working in the mailroom at 21. And then from the mailroom, I would get little data entry tasks here and there, just for them to kind of test my aptitude. And I would just put my head, at the time I had my little at the time, right? I'm aging myself. I had my little iPod. I put my headphones on and I would just work, and I was quiet, and everybody was much older than me. And I was just a seen, we're also from that generation of the seen but not heard kids, right? Mm-hmm. So I was just good at that. I was just head down, good at my job. And then little by little, I would work myself up in benefits coordinator, became a benefits specialist. From being a benefits specialist, I started realizing I wasn't going to be processing shit manually.
Right.
And then I started asking for more
responsibility.
Not necessarily more responsibility, but I would ask for more freedom to figure out how to do our job in an easier way. So I would get projects that nobody wanted to touch because they were very complex, or other people had larger books of business. So they would be like, oh, let's just give it to the college kid and see what she could do with it. And little by little, that is how I segued into technology, because I took I took a product off the shelf and I created an electronic online enrollment portal for our company.
That's amazing.
And I took a white labeled software off the shelf, and I worked with our software developer in-house with our third party vendor, and I got file feeds to start working. And it took me about a year and a half, maybe like 18 months worth of worth of the project. And that's what was like my very first kind of like feather in my cap of me like moving into the technology space within the benefit arena. And that's how I really landed in tech.
In retrospect, like what gave you the confidence to take that on? Is that something
I
you think
refused? I'll tell you, going back, I know we kind of talked off air. My rebellion, I refused to process manual enrollment forms. I was like, what are these women who are around me? Like in their, like I was 21. I was around women who were like mothers and wives and had to like go home and cook dinner. Like these women were, I knew I was very far removed from them in terms of like life experience. Like I was a child to them. And it's funny, in more ways, they still kind of treat me. I still have like old work friends that still treat me that way as well whenever they see me with the kids and stuff like that. But essentially it all started with, I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to count. They would like, oh, you need to count how many you process throughout the day. I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not doing this. And then I found out that I was a part of some webinar that they wanted me to learn. And I was like, oh, they keep talking about this portal called Open Notice, but we don't have that. Like, I see it in the system, we can turn it on, but like who's managing it? And just simply by asking questions and refusing to do manual, like
that's amazing, because
that's
at
how
21, sometimes like we don't have that introspection to say, no, I'm not going to take this answer just because that's the one you're giving me. And so from there, how did you, like, what was your next step afterwards?
So after launching the enrollment portal and proving that it could work, and it was really interesting for me because it was a true launch from a client perspective. It really taught me how interdepartments work. I had to not only work with the benefits team, I had to work with HR, I had to work with legal to get our messaging, I had to work with marketing to making sure that, all of the branding was correct, making sure that our clients were, migrating to the portal and had the proper training and things like that. So that project kind of lined me up for a promotion. I was getting at that point. So let's say I was 21, maybe I was like 23, 24. At that point, like right when I think I was like almost engaged at 25 and getting married and starting that journey. That's when I realized like I need more money to pay for life.
Right.
That's when I started realizing I was like, it clicked. I was like, okay, well, if I want to get married, mom and dad are not going to pay for that.
Right.
So what can I do here? I had just gotten my degree as well. And at the time, the CEO was like, why don't you move into this role? It was like a benefit analyst role. We'll create it for you and you can start digitizing our enrollments to the carriers. And that's really, so then I took a really, really technical role and I became a business analyst. And from being a business analyst, I took over the client technology team, which was all of the technology that we housed at our firm, which was pretty much, think of like hire to retire software. So everything from applicant tracking software, onboarding software, payroll software, all the way to COBRA, benefit enrollment, and then taxes, right? When tax time comes, uploading your W-2s and things like that so that our clients can spit that out.
What was your degree in?
International business.
That's insane to me. Like, I think that when you're open to opportunities that life gives you, they don't all need to make sense, right? Like,
yeah,
the reality is your degree was not in software engineering or whatever, something that was directly correlated to what you were doing. And yet you saw an opportunity, you believed in yourself enough to follow through on that. And then you continue to grow in a space that, either didn't exist when you started there, or really was ahead of its time for that type of business. So then at what point do you move past being an employee? Do you get married? Did you start a business right away? Like, how did that transition?
Okay. So I was at Alpha Staff for 13 years. So
Which is a long time.
Very long time. It was my home. I grew up there. I was very safe. And I'm going back to like the generation of seen but not heard kids. I grew up, in the church, and I was always very like, you're especially being a Latina, you're taught to be humble and not boast about your accomplishments and things like that. So like, I always thought that like, the more work I do behind the scenes, maybe someone will kind of see me, or like I wasn't good at advocating for myself. I would always, in my mind, I like condition myself, my work will speak for itself. My work will speak for itself. I did get lucky that I had really good mentors, especially women who were good at advocating for me at the time. But I literally tell people like, I got lucky. Like I landed in this space completely on accident. Like I was just lucky, right place, right time, asking the right questions, and just like heads down doing the work.
Which I think you met the opportunity too.
Yeah, that it was.
There's that combination.
I didn't know it. So like at the time,
Yeah.
I didn't think I had the confidence. I didn't think I was the smartest one in the room. Like at the time, I was just like showing up, which honestly, showing up is kind of half the battle. Not to talk about, Gen, what do we call them? Oh my goodness.
I don't know. I forgot what
Gen Z now. But like, I feel like that's like the difference between our generation and Gen Z. It's like sometimes you need to just show up and work. Heads down. Yeah, like heads down, work, do what you got to do. Right. So I was there for 13 years. And then at that point, I got married. I had both my babies there. It was time for me to kind of fly the nest. There was a lot of political shit happening too. And it was also like the case of nobody respected me. So I knew I was never going to be able to get the money that I needed to get the, not titles, but like the promotions with the accountability and responsibility with the certain
recognition.
Right. Like the career track that I wanted to take. And then I had an old work friend of mine land in my Facebook Messenger back in 2020. So this is January 2020, before the whole world changes. He lands in my Facebook Messenger at the time. Who checked Facebook at the time? And his name is Oscar. I'm like, oh my God, that's weird. And he asked me, he's like, hey, do you know anybody for this position? And I said, are you hiring? Whatever. It was for a product owner at ADP. And I said, you know what? I would love to apply. Can you send me the information? He's like, oh my God, of course. Send me your resume. He helped me kind of fix my resume a little bit, send it to his hiring manager, and I got the job. It was my very first panel interview. I was there in that Kendall office for maybe like 4 hours. I didn't even think I was going to get the job.
My God,
I didn't think I was qualified. I was in the industry from the PEO world, but this particular job, I was not qualified for it. I was not a certified PEO. There's like certifications that people go to school for this. Like in my mind, I'm like, I know the benefit. I was an attractive candidate because while I didn't have the PO experience, I knew the business and I knew the industry. And that's where they kept failing in this position was they had product owners that knew how to drive strategy and product, but they didn't know the industry and the people they were serving. I landed the job. I think I went from making, I don't know, maybe $75,000 a year to over 120 with a bonus. Like it was
a significant jump.
It was life-changing. At the time, my husband, what was my husband up to? He was just starting to work back at the shop. He was not cut out for being a financial advisor at all. So that's when we realized he was better.
I'm sorry, just to backtrack a little bit. You said the shop. What is that?
The Fast Signs. I'm so sorry. The shop we now own. Okay. The Fast Signs of Pembroke Pines. So he went back to work there as a production manager. And so kind of like our whole life shifted. He went back to work at Fast Signs. I went to work at ADP. And then the pandemic happened. So I thought I legit didn't even think I was going to get the job. My last day was March 13th, a Friday the 13th, when the world shut down and they shut down all the schools and everything. And I was supposed to start April 6th with ADP. I thought they were going to resend my offer and I thought that I was fucked and I didn't have a job. And they did not do any of such things. And and to kind of rewind, the deal was, we're going to give you this position because you're going to be here on site. You're going to be learning with us and you're going to teach us the business. We're going to teach you the PO side of the house. Well, guess what?
Right.
That didn't happen because I was home. At the time, my daughter was 4 and my baby was 7 months. So I had a 4-year-old and a 7-month-old at home with me with a brand new job, with a company over 65,000 employees. Nobody knew who I was. I had no manual on how to do this job. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I had hit like a new, not low in my brain, but I was out of my depth completely. I had no idea what I was doing. And little by little, of course, you figure it out. I made friends, at ADP, of course, I had teams of people helping me. And I was there for almost 3 years. I was there for 3 years until I, moved to my next opportunity. But in that time, going through the pandemic, handling things at home, I was basically home alone with the kids for a lot of the time because my husband was out working.
Yeah.
And the sign business, coincidentally, during COVID boomed because of all the signage that needed to be created. So I was home alone with managing this brand.
Babies, essentially.
Essentially. And handling webinars, being on phone calls, and just like basically running with a chicken without its head cut off. And I would just like sit at home late at night asking myself, like, this can't just be it. Like, there has to be more than, plus the world is dying, right? I'm sitting here like
existential crisis.
which I'm not the only one, right?
Of course not.
Everyone can relate to this story. Back in 2020, we were all having the same, like, what is going, like,
what am I doing with my life?
yeah, like, what am I doing with my life? And is this, like, this cool new job is awesome, but what if I could be doing something else? Like, what if, and that's when I realized, like, while the Kendall office was saturated with Latinas, the department I worked for, which was global products and technology, was not. And I started realizing I was the only Latina in the room, or I would work with a lot of Latinos, but there was nobody that looked like me, spoke like me, talked like me. I didn't even know. I started this conversation. I've landed here on accident. I didn't even know some of these careers existed.
Right.
I didn't even know how much money you could make. Even developing software now, fast forward, now what I do today, there's still like so many ways to slice a cat or to skin a cat for us to make money that I'm still learning about. Excuse me. And that's what really opened my eyes to create something of my own that I had no idea what it was going to be about. I started working with a really close friend of mine, also another fellow business attorney. And I was just like, I feel like I want to do something with myself, open a business. Maybe I want to I had it in my head that I would be like a PEO consultant of some sort. So I started off in hopes of branding myself for that. Like, what would it take for me to be on my own, be a consultant, work for myself, have some more flexibility? And then I started, going on Instagram, doing live videos, creating content. And that's kind of where the Latina Techie was born.
Before that, did you ever recognize an entrepreneur spirit in you? Like when you were growing up, like, did you, like, you knew somewhere that you would?
Yeah, I could always, so in my head, I always, because I come from limited means, I always knew ways to go out and make money, whether I was babysitting, whether I was cleaning houses with my grandma. I cleaned houses with my grandma a lot. That pretty much got me through high school, college. Like, if I needed extra money, I always, even to this day, like, I may be very well educated and have all my certificates, but in my head, I'm like, if I got to go to Taco Bell and get a job, like,
you're resourceful.
Yeah, like, I will do whatever I got to do. Like, me sale de la nada. Like, if I got to go on Instagram, like, whatever it takes, like, no job is too big or small for me, especially as a mom of 3, right? So I've always had it in me where I always had my little dinerito on the side. However I made it, it didn't matter. I could sell like, I always figured out like extra ways to make a little extra cash. And that's kind of where I would start. And so during the pandemic, a good friend of mine, Lauren Marscon, we're talking about her, another attorney, she was also launching her own online communities. And she would be like, I need bodies in the room. Just show up for me. And I would just show up for her. I'm her best friend, whatever. I would show up. And then I started realizing, then I would go to like in-person events and start realizing the people that were on stage and talking about all their, like, not with their accolades, but like being authority figures, exactly what you do, right? Like being an authority figure in your space. And I started realizing like, maybe I can do that. Right. Like, how can I do that? Like, how can I teach more girls that look like us to be in spaces like this, or even just show them that this world exists outside of being a developer, outside of being a program manager. And that's really where the idea of the Latina Techie was born.
That's amazing. And I think that probably the concept that you're addressing, which is not knowing that these careers exist. And I think, there's a push to change that. But we're both first generation, I think we are, first generation college grads. And in our households, it's like, you need a degree. You're either going to be a lawyer, an accountant, a dentist, some very traditional careers. When in reality, you can make money so many different ways. There are so many professions, there's so many careers that exist that we just didn't know, right? Because our parents were like, no, you have to be one of these, right?
Or some of them didn't even exist. For example, like the life of a content creator. Eso no existía.
Correct.
Who would have ever imagined, like, oh, yo hago mi dinero on YouTube.
Right.
Abuela would have laughed at you.
Right.
Come on.
It's like, yeah, it was the inception of the initial creators. Everyone was like, that's so weird. Like, nobody does that. And now look at what YouTube has become. Social media has become. Completely dismantled the traditional advertising world and all of our professions, because if you're not creating content, you're not educating your community, how are you attracting clients? Because the traditional model really doesn't exist anymore. And more importantly, even if you try, it doesn't work anymore, because how are you engaging professionals realistically?
Exactly.
On your phone. Like, how are you gonna see if you want to hire a contractor? You want to see what kind of work, that they've done, and where do they post it on social media? So you're right. Like, that's definitely the elephant in the room. These roles didn't exist. And
it's so interesting, though, like the evolution of when we were, little girls, right? Like I call it like the good girl syndrome. Like, I was such a good girl for a long, you too. We talked about this. Like, we were such a good girls, and we did what we had to do, and we knew college was essential. And not that I regret going to college and getting my degree. Encourage my children to do the same. I think it's necessary for them to be committed and have whatever it is that you want to study, right? But to your point, like, people are out here, especially here in South Florida, making millions, not ever having to use any of the knowledge that they ever garnered, in school at all.
And paid a lot of money for.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I still have a student loan.
Yeah. And you bill. And they might be happier than a lot of people that, sacrifice a ton of years to go into these professions that are, are more legit. Like, let's just say it.
Versus like the lawyer, the doctor, the attorney, like the software developer, the engineer, like there is all these, like, I guess, career trajectories that our parents, didn't have access to. And I will always be grateful and appreciate that. But I wish when I was younger, I knew really, like, how they say the world is your oyster. Yeah. I really wish maybe it was me, maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I don't think it's marketed to girls, especially women or, girls that look like us, in the world of, this is all the things that you can do outside of just being a doctor, a lawyer, or this, or that, all the things like on paper to help you make the money that you want, or to not help you make the money, help you live the lifestyle you want to live.
Right. Nobody's not always about money. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no one really, it's now at my 30s where I'm like, it was never about the money. It was about maybe not waking up at 6 a.m. every morning. That's my thing, right? Like, I don't like to wake up early. Maybe that's not something that you mind, but maybe what's important to you is, at the end of all this, I'm done at 2:00 to pick up my kids every day.
Which is not
negotiable, right? So for you, it's like, no. At 2 p.m., this whole thing shuts off, and I will get to my clients at another time. But right now, that's done.
Right.
And I think going back to 2020, I think a lot of us unplugged from that matrix of, like, I don't have to do what we were conditioned so hard to do in the past now, where I think 2020 really allowed all of us to have that reset of, like, what life are you living? And are you happy? Like, are you fulfilled? Like, is this what you were really put on this earth to do?
Mm-hmm. And we were showed trial by fire that it is possible, right? We could be remote. We could still tend to our clients and be working from home, or, maybe take 2 hours to go to your kid's school and then come back and do what you have to do, or work at whatever hour you decide to work with, right? Because I'm a morning person, but after a certain time in the afternoon, my brain is not
you're done. Exactly. You're like,
the same way.
that's it.
Exactly. So I think we were presented with these possibilities, and maybe to some industries' detriment, because they definitely, there's a pushback there. They want people back in office. But our generation is saying, I don't want that. I'd rather take less money and have flexibility, work remote, work from whatever country, whatever city I'm at or want to be at. And that's just not important to me, because I also, growing up, I would have said money is it, right? Because we didn't have it, perhaps.
Exactly.
But as I've gotten older, it's like not about money. It's about flexibility and working with people that I enjoy working with, feeling committed to my clients' businesses, because I really like to understand what's going on with their business. I find joy in that.
We love that.
And creating a legacy for my children. I think that's ultimately like my goals now. It's not about money. You know, is it necessary? Yes.
Always.
Like, we got to pay bills. We need to make sure that our kids are protected, that they have the funds that they need to be able to live in this world that is expensive. We live in a city that's very expensive. But when I close my eyes, I don't think about, like stacking a certain number in the bank. Like, that's not my goal. So yeah, I think that is sort of non-traditional, especially the way that we grew up.
Exactly.
So talk to me about, how do you go from, or your husband, working at Fast Signs to then owning a franchise of Fast Signs?
Ooh, this is a good one. So when my husband left the financial world, his goal in his mind was always to maybe potentially run a Fast Signs of his own. He had spoken to our previous owner, if there was like opportunity for that. But at the time, this was like almost 10 years ago. No, wait, that was 2020. He started at 2019 when our son was born. So I'm terrible at math. I'm sorry. I'm a techie. I'm not good with math. So I'm a little over many. Yeah, right.
You're a great reader and writer, though, I bet. I had to go down that really met.
I bet you could write stuff.
Yes. I can read and write. That's like my.
I love my attorney friends, because you guys can write. Even you're texting, and I'm like, superb. I always go to an attorney if I ever want to like doctor a message.
That's what we're good for. Math, not so much.
Yeah,
for sure.
Not good with letters. So he was 7 years. So 7 years. And so he had spoken to the owner like, oh, well, maybe we'll have some sort of succession plan. That was it that was spoken about. It was just, he needed to go back to work. He needed to make money for the family. And then I was at ADP. I was recruited out of ADP to work for another PEO out in Texas. So not for anyone that's in this industry, in the HR space, specifically with professional employer organizations, there's like specific meccas of industry, Florida being one of them because of the laws. And so I was in the Florida mecca. It's very incestuous. Just like, as you know, when you're in the attorney world down here, it's very incestuous. You know, all the big law firm, all the players, right? Well, in Texas, they have their own mecca. So I had thought in my PEO consulting ways, or in the trajectory of what I thought my company was going to continue to do, I said, okay, I've already kind of mastered the product owner role, right? I know how to create product. I know how to create the strategy to market it from, all the way from ideation to launch. Let's move to another industry or another state for me to learn their ways and learn how they, mitigate technology. And they also, a part of this particular role, being a senior director, that was like another kind of like feather in my cap as well. I was like, okay, well, I'll get the title, the promotion, the money. And then also I'll learn another side of the house where this particular firm was very big on their acquisition. So they would acquire PEOs left and right. And when you acquire a company, you're acquiring their data, and we have to merge your data into our systems. So that is really where I was like, I want to learn how to do that heavy lifting. It's done in like sequential order. You have to, extract data. Like it's very methodical. We're doing a lot of surgery. So that really, really, enticed me. I got the job and I was there for almost 2 years. And then a venture capitalist firm bought them out. All the C-suite changed and I was the last executive on. So my entire team was dismantled completely. My team and another technology team was dismantled completely. Wow. That happened the Tuesday before Memorial Day. I'm sorry, I was laid off the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. And I was like, okay, I'm going to ramp it up on Latina Techie. At this point in time, I was already developing software outside of HR. I had to be very careful because conflict of interest, you're totally aware. So I had to be very careful to take non-HR projects, which was really interesting because it'll open my world to just create technology. It didn't matter what industry I was in. So I was, focusing more on impact projects because I was really asking God, like, take my powers, right? Whatever I've learned for our people. That's really where the Latina Techie was born, where I wanted to be placed in rooms with people that were creating impactful projects or
your community,
for my community, and build the technology stacks that they needed. My goal was not only to make technology as a career accessible, but make technology as a whole accessible, and teaching people how to build it in not only in phases, but within your budget. Right.
Which seems like out of reach for a lot of people.
It does. And a lot of people, when they come to build technology, don't realize you're basically building a home. So while you think your budget is one thing, you actually could have a little bit more room or a little bit less wiggle room, depending upon how big or, how much you want to scale this particular software. So at the time I said, okay, well, maybe now I can start branding myself to be HR focused, all this stuff. We get back from a little mini getaway with our family. Tuesday, he gets back into the shop. The owner says he's ready to retire and if we want to buy the shop. And I said, okay, well, maybe I won't dust off my resume. And my husband was like, you're going to take the summer off, be with the kids. My kids were now getting into their sport life and figure out how to project manage this. And that's basically what I did. I project managed an acquisition. I had never done that. It was probably the biggest project I'd ever had to do in my entire life. It's like people ask me like now, like, how was it? The only thing I could really equate it to is like buying a house on steroids. But there's more to it than that. That there's a lot. I say that because that's the only thing I can equate it to for people that haven't gone through a business acquisition. But yeah, it's basically like buying a house on steroids in terms of how they look at your finances and, going to the bank. And I was working with an attorney, a CPA, and it basically took us 6 months to get the capital. That's a whole nother story too. And get everything that we needed to be able to close and become our own franchisees.
Because they had to approve you.
Oh yeah, They had to approve us. I had just lost my job, so I didn't have the income that I had to go in. So they had to it was like, I say like I landed in technology on accident. Like how we acquired the shop, it truly was God. I swear it was God.
Yeah.
Like that's really how it went so that was May. From May to December 20th, it took me 6 months to close.
That's insane. And like, I love that because I see it in our business too. Like now stepping outside and looking in, you're like, how did that happen? How did that person that then led me to this, to then led me to do something else? And I don't think we were closed off to anything. But like we were just like, when you're in that moment of frustration of like, how is this going to happen? And you're like so hyper focused on just the minutia, you don't see the bigger picture. And it's true. I also see that God has a way of connecting you with the people that you need to be connected with, giving you the experience that's going to lead you to that next step. And so briefly, tell us, how did you, for anybody that's interested, how did you access the capital to be able to do that?
So this will probably be the first time I've ever really talked about this in this kind of arena, right? Because people kind of get a little funny about money.
Right.
To be very frank with you, how do I want to answer this? I'll answer this with my big sister hat on. in terms of like the importance of diversifying your monies, if you will. So James and I had a really, really good retirement account with all of the between ADP, between G&A Partners and the firm prior. I had great 401k products that was able to roll over. So in lieu of me not having the salary that I had and keeping our savings intact, we cash in our retirement funds to give us chunks of the down payment that we needed. And then we had to find a bank that would approve us and give us the rest of the money. In all of that,
You guys bet on yourselves.
girl, I had 7 banks say no. Like, this deal died 1,000 times. My husband, people always have skeletons in their closet. We had some legal situations that happened years ago in our youth that prevented certain banks to even look at us. So that was a hurdle that we had to jump. And then finally, to your what you were saying earlier, to your testament of you don't really know who's going to be placed in your corner. I met a woman. Her name is Marissa Ames. She works for Berkshire Bank. And that is the bank that who financed us. And she really believed in us, and she really believed in my husband, and she believed in our story. She's actually out of here, South Florida. She was South Florida native as well. And she was like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure this out for you. We got character references. It was hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. And like I said, she was the 7th bank, and we finally, I think this was that was May, maybe like right around July. This was like maybe July of that year, that we got approval from the bank, and then we had to do all the due diligence from like August to December to close.
So to bring back to like what we were talking about, it's just like a refusal to accept something, right?
Yeah.
Because you could have easily taken the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th no, and you did it.
We didn't.
Like, you refused to give up, and you really bet on yourselves cashing in on, and I use that term because cashing in on your retirement.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Your safety net.
Yeah, that's what we
Say,
did.
no, this is going to work. So,
And we're still betting on ourselves. The first year of business was good, but we struggled.
of course.
We struggle. It's still hard. It's still hard.
I mean, I get it. I have another business with my husband, and we see it all the time. And like, I decided to, a lot of people don't know that, but I stopped practicing law when I got pregnant with my 2nd. I was very unhappy. I was litigating at the time. I was like, what am I doing with my life? This is not what I never wanted to be a litigator. I went to law school thinking I'm going to get into business. What degree? I don't do math. I would love to be a vet, but let's be honest, there's a lot of math in those sciences, so I would not have survived. So I'm like, okay, what degree can I get that's practical? It's either an MBA, a law degree. I read and write. I'm going to go the law degree route. Anyway, so I took a break, and I was like, and my husband gave me the space to be like, I got you. Like, you need to figure out what you need, what you want to be. And if that's being at home with the kids for a while or forever, he never pressured me into making that decision. That's okay. And so I took a break. And during that time, I had 3 degrees. We struggled because Miami is very expensive.
You'll need to unlock your iLove first.
We struggled to make ends meet. But there was something that inside me, I don't know about him because he's not as crazy as I am, but like, I knew we would be okay.
Faith. It's blind faith.
Yes.
That's where I'm at right now in my life. My husband wakes up with all this. I'm like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. God will provide.
Yeah.
It didn't get us as far just to make it this far.
Yes.
That's how I see it.
And we went through some like troubling things with his like 9 to 5, because I have a 9 to 5, he has a 9 to 5, and we have this other business that we created.
Oh my God.
And we have 4 kids.
Insane. Like, yeah, you
Right.
get it. You get it. The load is heavy.
The load is super heavy. But we knew like, so anyways, we go through certain issues in his 9 to 5. And at the moment we were like, why are we going through this? Like, it was horrible. And it just showed us like, we want to own something that's ours, that nobody can take away from us, that we build we like working together. And so out of that necessity, out of that drive, we created Terramar, which is our family business. And I almost get teary-eyed listening to you because we really bet on ourselves. Like, he comes from law enforcement. I come from the law world. We knew nothing about plants. And we got a trailer. We put it on our credit card. And this is like not the way to go. I'm telling, like, I don't suggest it for anybody.
I know that's why I said with the retirement accounts, I'm like,
Yes,
it's not kosher advice.
it's not.
But I'm gonna tell you, want to know how we did it? This is how we did it,
Right.
But it also is a sacrifice. We were talking about the Louis, we're talking about bougie stuff earlier, but like we were talking about the Louis and stuff, and it's like sometimes not making those, sometimes making the conscious decisions to not overspend or to not keep up with the Joneses because we live in Miami what has helped my husband and I build the little wealth that we've been able to do. Because people were dumbfounded. Like, how did you do this? You got laid off. I'm like, I did this because, not that we're penny pinchers, but like we've made
You were smart about your money.
We were smart about our money, and I don't have a closet full of Chanel bags.
Right.
I would love them, but guess what? Now I have a business.
Correct.
So it is a little bit different. And then my husband does have a saying, just because I have to shout out my man, I love him so much. He has a saying that they grew up with in the Marino household: never give up, never surrender. And that's just
That's the battle.
That's the Marino family motto. That's the motto in our home. That's the motto in our marriage. Like, we just don't give up. We don't surrender. And that is literally how we acquired the business. We didn't give up.
That's amazing. And I love that. Like, that's just like my favorite story because it just resonates so much. And I just want to root for you guys because, at the end of the day, you feel it. And only another entrepreneurial couple can really understand what that's like to say, we're not going to go on trips for whatever amount of years it takes so that we can see this through. And now we have the experience where, it must be nice to go on trips. But like, people don't realize all the sacrifice that goes into building something that you really care about, that you want to see prosper, and all the shit that you said no to during those years.
Denise, you say that it must be nice. It's in the season of my life right now I feel like I'm constantly combating the must be nice comments because I said a really nice, I don't want to say vague, I went into my story, but my story never mentioned all the travel I had to do, all the early drop-offs and late pickups at daycare. I was a daycare mom until 2020. That's really what, I didn't really talk about that. That also like affected me, how much I realized Turner was 7 months. So I was home with him to see him walk, hold his bottle for the first time, take his first steps with me. And I realized when I would look at my 4-year-old at the time, I didn't remember any of that.
Or you were like in it, like you didn't have a chance to.
I was a daycare mom. I put her in daycare at 3 months. I didn't, like, it was the first time in my life. I'm sorry, I'm emotional because I had the baby, but like, it never occurred to me that I didn't have to live that life.
Right.
Like, I didn't have to work so hard. And so now when I hear the must be nice comments, it's like, do you not remember all the traveling I used to do to Texas, to Atlanta, to New York, to California, back again, leave my baby girl, like, and then leave my son? And it's like people never saw all the hard work that went into the must be nice life I get to live now. People think I'm just a stay-at-home mom now. It's like, no, I'm
And even if you were, why is that a bad thing?
Yeah, it's like, well, first of all, I've worked almost 20 years in corporate, rising through the ranks. I was in the mailroom. And now, I had a corner office. I used to travel the world. I had all the heels, the purses, the accolades, the degree, and it was still empty. And the bank account looked great. And we still hated each other as husband and wife. And in 2020 we had to make changes. And so like the must be nice comments of now, it's like people don't even understand the sacrifices we had to make it here. Where James and I are living a completely different life. Well, we had to surrender and let go of a lot of shit to get here. And that's what people don't understand in your journey of the must be nices of the world. It's like, well, yeah, I can go have breakfast or go to the gym or be with my last baby because I fucking killed myself to get here. Where I think Gen Z also needs to kind of figure that out.
Yes.
So it's like, we work hard, but aquí hay que trabajar.
Of course.
Aquí hay que trabajar.
Of course.
Before you can go and, oh, I'm going to be bougie and go have brunch in Miami.
Exactly.
Aquí hay que trabajar.
Yes.
To have that life, right? You know? Right. So not to get off that tangent, but that's the lesson I'm in right now. We're like, oh, you're, because people see me at the field with the kids. Yeah, but you didn't see me in the car negotiating a sign, which I'm in the sign business now. I don't even know.
Right.
I don't even know how I'm like managing the sign business, but here I am paying bills and shaking hands with people and selling signs. I never thought I would be here. Just like with you at the plants. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Exactly. And I think when you're open to opportunities that you never imagined, right? Because again, I went thinking I'm going to be an attorney, a business owner, and that was like it, right? And yet life threw this curveball at us and like that made us realize, wait a minute, like we need to have plan B, and somehow plan B became plan A, B, C, D, whatever, And so just to like tie all these, conversations to these pieces together, it's like what I'm gathering from our conversation that is unique to you is that you never took no for an answer. You knew that you needed to meet yes, perhaps you were given opportunities, but you met it with hard work, determination, a desire to never take the first answer. Because you did that at 21, then you did it again as you moved on within your own career in corporate, and then you did it again when every bank said no to you and your husband. And I'm sure you'll continue to do that because that's so ingrained in who you are. Like, and I see myself in that because I also feel that. So I know that whatever you guys do next, you're going to be successful because like that, you can't make that shit up. You can't package that and sell it. And you just can't, because that is ingrained in who you are and you guys are together in your marriage, as parents, as business owners. So I'm cheering you on.
Thank you so much.
And I'm excited. Hopefully you come back and we could talk maybe more in detail about acquiring a business, learning a business. Like
I would love to. I feel like I could have a whole series. I know I got to come back to his life on the socials and
when you're ready, because
I'm ready.
That babies don't keep, that.
Exactly. Oh my God. I love that saying. I had never heard that saying until this baby. But yeah, no, my baby doesn't keep. And I've realized after having, like we said, the office and this and the career, that all stays. Just like the partying, right? Like, es lo mismo, nada cambia.
Exactly. Enjoy it while you have it. And yeah, it's the most precious moment.
It certainly is.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Denisa.
Yeah. Can you help me with something? I would love it if you would share some suggestion of who we should have on the podcast. I would love to have your feedback from this conversation. If you found anything insightful, post it in the comments. And again, if you don't follow the channel, I hope you do.